All right, guys, here we go. So tonight is all about this trip going to Greece. So cool stuff. I guess we got some guys online. So welcome to all you out online there. Want to kind of walk through first of all each day of the trip, and so we're going to start there. So let's see. So it's June 9th through the 18th. 2025, so we got a whole year, not quite a year, but close to a year to get there, which means we'll find out at the end there's a payment plan, so all that will help out with getting us there. So first day. All right, so we are going to leave from Charleston. Now, if you want to leave from somewhere else, you can do that. You'll have to talk to the travel agency, and they'll make sure that happens. So if you're just say, I don't want to drive to Charleston, I don't want to fly out of Charleston, you can fly from Atlanta, you can fly from California if you want to, whatever. We'll set all that up for you. Just call the agency. It'll probably have a little more cost, so you'll have to talk to them about that as well, but they can work that in. So day one is just the whole flight. So we'll probably leave, just still on day one. So day one flight, we'll leave from Charleston, and we're gonna fly like 10 and a half hours, something like that. One leg of the flight. So if we have to go to Atlanta, then we'll fly probably an hour flight over there, have a layover, and then 10 and a half hours from there to get to Greece. If we fly through, I don't know, there's Washington D.C., something like that, then of course it's kind of mixed up, but still, we're going to be on a flight for a long time. It'll be overnight. All right, it'll be overnight, so that'll be nice. You can sleep on the plane, hopefully. But if you don't, you don't. My recommendation is to try to sleep on a plane, and that way you're kind of fresh and ready to go the next morning. Now, what they're saying, they're not sure on flights, so we won't find out until probably 120 days out what flight we're flying on. And that'll require us to just wait until then. So we could fly out early in the morning and fly all day, but probably what we'll do is fly out late in the evening, be there overnight, and then what they're saying is sometime in the afternoon. So I went and checked the flights, and it said 12:30, I think, 12:35, something like that, landing in Athens. So then once we get to Athens, though, we have to fly to Thessaloniki. So that, I believe, is day two. So we're landing in Athens that day, and then Thessaloniki, we fly up to the northeast corner of Greece, and that's where we'll be staying the night. So we don't really tour anything that day. We'll just stay there overnight, and then the next morning we're getting up, going to all the cool stuff. Let me see if I can pull this up. Oh, not sure what happened to my notes. Lost some notes here. Okay. June 11th. June 11th. So yeah, Thessaloniki, we're going to Amphipolis. That's where the Spartans battled the Athenians in 422 BC. Alexander the Great prepared his Asian campaigns there in 335 BC, and it's where Paul and Silas were in Acts chapter 17 on their way between Philippi and Thessalonica. So that's pretty cool, getting to go there. And then we'll go down to Philippi, and Philippi, of course, is where the book to the Philippians was written. Lydia was saved there, and so the first European convert in the Scripture was saved there. Baptized there. It's in the Scripture. And then if y'all remember the story, the jailer, when Paul's in prison and the earthquake comes and the doors fly open, and so the jailer there gets saved. So that's all right there in Philippi, which I think is pretty cool. So that'll be one of those first stops where we're really seeing footsteps of Paul. And then we'll go back to where do we start at? That's no. Yeah, we started in where? Thessaloniki. Thessaloniki, and we'll go back there, and we'll stay the night That's overnight there. All right. The next day was. You already have a question? Okay. Yeah. So day 12, Meteora. So this is right in the middle of Greece. So we're on our way back down to Athens. So we've been up in the north part of Greece. You know how Greece looks. You're still on the water. So even though you're up north, you're still on the water. And we're driving down into the very center of the country. And this is a Eastern Orthodox monastery from the 1400s. And so they're all over these hilltop cliffs, and they built the monasteries up there back then to protect them from intruders. And we leave there. After that, we drive all the way back down to Athens, and then we stay the night in Athens after everything is over. All right, so long drive that day on the bus, but the bus is air conditioned. You have your own seat, of course. You're going to stop. We're going to make rest stops. We'll have lunch somewhere. All that'll be taken care of, but it will be a long day in a bus. Get back to Athens, stay there, and then the next morning we leave out on a Mediterranean cruise, which I think is pretty awesome. So that morning we head out on the cruise. Well, it is in the morning, so we head out to the boat. Get on. I'm sure to get all the safety measures taken care of, all that good stuff, and then we go to Mykonos. And according to Greek mythology, this is where Heracles, which is Roman Hercules, buried the giants that he slew. So that's according to, of course, mythology. That's where all that happened. But the place is really, really beautiful. I had a couple pictures, but we don't have them up there. It's a beautiful port town, lots of white buildings, and they call this, I think, the Island of the Wind or something like that because the winds are so high there. But it's one of the places that all these Greek cruises go to because it's classic Greek. All right, second day, so we sleep on a boat that night. Second day, June 14th, we wake up and we go into Turkey. So this is the only day that we go into Turkey. We had this trip planned for this year, and we were talking about going to half the trip in Greece, half the trip in Turkey, but we decided not to do that. Just stuff going on in Israel, Turkey's take on all that, and of course we we're planning on using an Israeli travel agency, and so I just don't know how safe that would be. So we actually canceled the trip this year, and we postponed it until next year. And so this time we're just going into Kusadasi there that day. So we'll get into the port. It's a port city. We'll go in. It's very safe. Lots of Americans, lots of foreigners there. Not really a troublesome sight. Some say that John the Evangelist and Mary, the mother of Jesus, after the crucifixion, that this is where they went, was to Kusadasi, and that that's where they lived the rest of their lives. And then just outside of Kusadasi is Ephesus. Back in biblical times, Ephesus was the big community, and Kusadasi was just a little port. But because of the way that the ports have changed over time, Ephesus is now the smaller community. And Kusadasi is right on the sea, and it has a big port there, and so very different. It used to be Ephesians, of course, was written to the church in Ephesus, and Paul lived there for 3 years. So all that's there, and then we leave from that port and we go down to Patmos, and so we all know where Patmos. John the Revelator, John who wrote Revelation, was exiled there. You see there's the monastery of St. John the Theologian. We'll get to see that. It's up on a hill. It's beautiful. And then once we get up there to the very top of the hill, we'll go down to the Grotto of the Apocalypse, which is, according to history, the cave in which John was, where Revelation was given to him. So that's part of it. We'll go back to the ship. We'll stay on the ship that night. And then June 15th, we go to Crete. Crete is absolutely beautiful also, but this is a picture of Santorini. So we go into Crete, and Crete is where Titus was a pastor. So, of course, the book to Titus was written to Crete, to the church there that he was over. Paul sells, he was actually blown here, according to Acts, I think it's 27. So Acts 27, he's headed to Rome, and the weather gets really bad. And he's telling them, listen, you need to do this, you need to do that, and they won't do it. And so they get blown into port here. And so he actually is in Crete. And then we'll go out to the Kenosis excavations. So that's historically 4000 BC is when the community started in that area, and they have a lot of ruins there. We'll get to see all of that cool stuff. And then we'll head over to Santorini. And Santorini is, as you can see, one of the most beautiful Greek islands there is. We'll head there. There's not really any historical, biblical stuff that's there, but we'll head out to that island. It's an active volcano, and so some people, I don't know if this is true, but some people say that the plagues in Egypt back in the Old Testament actually had some causation from the volcano that erupted. It's actually the largest volcanic eruption that's ever been in history and that mankind has. So I thought that was pretty cool. That's on the island. It's still an active volcano. There are hot springs there, and so we'll get to go and see all of that. All right, so back to the ship that night, and then June 16th, we get off the boat, and so we land in the port. So Piraeus is the port, and we're back in Athens. We get off the boat, get on the bus, we head out to Corinth, and so Corinth, of course, is the First and Second Corinthians were written to the church there. Paul went there. He lived there for a while, and this is where he met Aquila and Priscilla in the Scripture. So that's there. And then Cenchrea is the next place we'll go to. Paul stopped there on his second missionary journey. It's actually from where he sailed back to Asia, and so that's in the Scripture as well. And we'll stop there, and then we come back around to Athens proper. And we go to the Acropolis, and that's where the Parthenon, Pralia, and Erechtheum all are. So those are all the places that you see all the time. When you think of Athens, that is the spot. All the ancient stuff, all the neat ruins that you see that are still standing, all of that is up on that main hill. The Acropolis, so we'll actually get to go up there. We'll take pictures. We'll see all the stuff. We'll have the tour guide explain things to us. And then after we leave there, we go over to Mars Hill. And, of course, Mars Hill in the Scripture is where Paul gave the sermon on the unknown God and all scriptural, very cool stuff. And then we go back to dinner and overnight in Athens. So we stay in Athens again. And then June 17th, we head over to Delphi. And so Delphi is another one of those really neat places. It's not a well-known biblical site, but it's an ancient site. And so it's got extensive archaeological ruins there. We'll get to go through all of those. The Pythian Games started in 586 BC. And so those were part of what we have the modern Olympic Games, the Pan-Hellenic Games. That was actually one of the main games of the Pan-Hellenic Games, which are all across Greece. So what we do, according to the Olympics, is what started there in Delphi. So we'll talk about all that. The phrase "rest your laurels" actually comes from this place. So that was where they started with putting laurels on their branches, on their heads as crowns to those who won. It all started in Delphi. And so that'll be that last day that we're there. And then we'll go back to Athens. So we'll have dinner. We'll be overnight. And then June 18th, we wake up, head to the airport, and we get back on a flight back home to Charleston or to wherever you've decided that you're going to go. You'll get there, I promise. We don't lose people. All right? So that's every day of the trip. It's not that, that long, but it is definitely full. I will say that I just from being in Israel, that you say, man, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I could travel that much. I don't know if I could go up and down those things. I don't know. But we took a lot of people with us last time, and we had everybody that was very, very young and up in age, and I think everybody was able to do what they wanted to do. And so there were times when people said, hey, I cannot go all the way up that hill. I'm going to stay back, and they were okay with that. We took pictures, brought it back to them. Some days we had a couple of people on our trip that they stayed at the hotel. They didn't go out at all. And I said, well, I hated that. Well, they're not going with us. They're not able to do that. But I said, I went and asked them. I said, I hate that you're not going. It bothers me. And they said, don't let it bother you. I got to do this, and I never thought I was going to get to do this in my life. So I've done everything that I want to do, and if I don't get to see anything else, my trip is made. So, I want you to think about that. Is you say, I don't know if I could do all that. It's okay. I promise we will take care of you and make sure that you get to see the things you want to see. And, I think, our kids will go with us, and so they help a lot. They helped a lot on the Israel trip. Anyway, I just want to make sure that don't feel like you can't go, because I promise if you can walk, you can go. All right? Okay, so what does the package include? This is important stuff. So number one is round trip airfare. So if you're flying out of Charleston, the package price is already set. And so that includes the airfare from Charleston. Now, as I said before, you can change it to fly out of anywhere else, but they're probably going to charge you a premium on top of the price of the package. So we are flying in out of Charleston. You're flying into Athens, and then once we get to Athens, you'll have to fly then to Thessaloniki. All that is taken care of. You don't have to worry about it. Secondly, the motor coaches, so all the buses that we'll be on, they're big, they're nice, they're air-conditioned, and the bus drivers are very, very awesome and crazy good. And you close your eyes many times because you're scared, but they're not. So that's the way it works over there. But that's all included. First class hotels. So first class or superior class, just depending on what they can find at the time. But we won't be staying in the Roach Motel down the street. We'll stay in nice hotels, and included with those hotels, you get dinner. And so it's a buffet dinner. So you say, well, I don't know if I'm going to eat this food. You get to pick whatever you want to eat and not pick what you don't want to eat. And so we've never had a problem with that. Wherever you go, there'll be something that you can eat. So that's all hotels. The guide is included. So we'll have a travel guide with us the entire time, right? You don't have to worry about getting lost. You don't have to worry about, where are we going to find a bathroom. You go ask the guy, and he'll tell you, hey, if you'll just hold on for 15 minutes, we're going to be here, and there'll be bathrooms there. Or whatever you need. You say, hey, what are these ruins we didn't talk about over here? They'll be able to tell you that. And so all that's included. The entrance fees to everywhere that we go, as long as it is part of the trip. So there are a couple of places that we'll go on a cruise, and they'll take you off of the cruise ship. You can get off, and you can go into the town. But once you get into town, there's like a lot of stuff that you can do. That's not included. So there are certain places that they are included. So like I mentioned at Patmos, all of that I talked about, that's included in the trip. But if you decide to do something else crazy, like go water skiing, it's not paid for. You'll have to do that, Miss Joe, okay? All right, so that's there, the entrance fees. Breakfast and dinner every day, so that's included at the hotel. Before we even leave, you'll get to get up, go have breakfast, and then we'll head out. Dinner everywhere is paid for because you come back to the place, you eat there. Lunches, you'll have to pay for that. So you'll be out, and you get to decide. So it's not like we all go eat at the same place. You say, I don't want to spend $50 on a lunch. You don't have to. You can go to wherever you want to go, and you can pay as much as you want to pay. But that lunch is not included as long as we're out. So all meals and unlimited beverages on the 3 days that we're on that cruise, that's all taken care of. So the whole time we're on the cruise, you don't have to pay for anything unless you want something over and above. So if it's again excessive outside of what they're giving you, then that'll be on you. But all the stuff's supposed to be taken care of on the cruise. Taxes. So what you'll do is if you sign up, that first payment, they'll tell you, hey, the taxes are, I can't remember, I think it's like $592 are the taxes. So taxes are very high on travel But that's all included in the price. But at some point, one of the payments will be just the tax payment. But it's included in the payment that we're already agreeing to. It's not over and above. You're not having to get into the country and then they tell you, by the way, you got to pay more. You're not having to do that. Okay. Fuel charges. So that's included with it. Port fees and cruise gratuities. So you're not having to. I know when we went to Israel, one of the things that really bothered me was, I told everybody, it's all inclusive. And then we got there, and I thought that I had collected enough money. We collected $100 from every person to pay, to give a tip to the guy that was our tour guide and to the bus driver. And then it was, hey, by the way, this needs to be tipped, and that needs to be tipped, and this guy touched your bag, so he needs to be tipped. And it just ended up being over and above. And here, all these cruise and port fees and all the stuff is supposed to be taken care of ahead of time, gratuities. Short excursions to Patmos, Ephesus, and Crete. And then, I just talked about tour guide, driver, hoteliers, gratuities are taken care of. Short excursions to Patmos, Ephesus, Crete, those are the ones that we're taking care of. So anything outside of those places, you'd have to pay for. Okay? So that's all that's included. So now you say, well, what is not included? That's a good question. Let me tell you. So number one is a passport. They're not going to pay for your passport. You got to have a passport. If you don't have a passport, you can't go to a foreign country. So you got to have one. Visas, we don't have to worry about that. We're American. They'll let us in anywhere. So we don't have to worry about that. But if you're not an American citizen and you come from some other country outside of the ones that they already have agreements with, then you'd have to pay for a visa, but you'd have to pay for that. Laundry, I think, with a 10-day trip, you might have to do laundry. Maybe you can do it in the sink, but I wouldn't think you would have to do laundry in 10 days. So, but if you do, laundry is not taken care of. The lunches that I already mentioned while touring on the land, so any day that we're out on the bus, you'll have to pay for those lunches. A telephone, I'll just be honest, is now that we have cell phones, you don't have to worry about that, but they had it in there to say. So your cell phone, like with T-Mobile, we can text in any foreign country. So we can text back and forth, and that's all we do. So we don't take any phone calls, but we text. You can pay for one of their plans. I don't remember. How much was it? $15 or something like that a month? Yeah, that's what it was, Angela. $15 a month through T-Mobile. Yeah, so T-Mobile was like $15 you had to pay, and then you could make so many calls, and you had so much extra that they didn't slow down your service. So they could do that. If you have Google, then it's totally free. It's all included. Verizon, I know that they have a surcharge on it, I think, for both data and everything, so you have to pay extra. And you can do that. You can choose to do that before you leave and say, hey, I'm going to pay for this package. Once you get back with T-Mobile, if you do it, you don't even have to cancel it. It just, once you come out of the country, they cancel it for you. So you end up, as long as this 1 month that you're there or less, then you just pay for 1 month, and then it comes off of your bill. But they don't pay for that. Any souvenirs you buy, you'll have to pay for them unless you steal them. I would recommend not stealing them. You're in a foreign country, okay? And you're Christian. You're good Christian people, so don't do that. Travel insurance. I have a recommended travel insurance that I use. Everybody has a different travel insurance that they recommend, but I really like the one that I use. And so if you sign up for the trip, within that first, I can't remember if it's a month or 6 weeks, there's a set time that you have to get travel insurance after you pay for it. So if you'll go ahead and tell me, hey, I'm signing up for the trip, I want to go, I'll tell you what the insurance is. I'll give you the link. All you have to do is go on there. For a trip like this, I can't remember exactly how much it is. It's $200 and something, I think, between $200 or $300, and that'll take care of everything. So if your bags are lost, they pay for your bags. They give you money for it. So I think it's like $750 that they'll take care of your bags. If you die, they'll pay for your remains to come back. That's kind of important. If there is a flight disaster, they give you, so you get to choose. So they can give, I think it's up to $5 million in excess of what you already have. So you might have, $100,000 or $200,000 of insurance on a travel if you choose to with a flight. So if there was a crash, Lord forbid, but you got kids back home, you want to make sure they're taken care of, then you can pay the $14 or whatever it is extra, and that'll be included. Yeah, they'll get us out of there if war breaks out, but war's not going to break out. Okay, but they do. I'm one of those that I want all my bases covered, and so that's all included in this insurance that I use. That's why I like it, and I've never had a problem with it, and I've traveled all over the world using it. So, and also they have like riders. So if you want to put all of your electronic equipment on there, and you get on the plane and drop your iPad, or your AirPod gets broken or whatever, they'll pay for all of that stuff. So they'll do that. So I really like them. So that's their excess baggage fees. So you get 50 pounds. Ladies, you get 50 pounds. Guys who are wearing pink pants, you get 50 pounds, okay? And they'll stop laughing. So if you go over 50 pounds, they are going to charge you. And for a lot of these airlines, it is like $100 per bag, and it's 1 pound over. So if you go any weight over, you're going to pay an excess baggage fee. If you take an extra bag, you're going to have to pay for that. So you get one bag that is checked, and it has to weigh 50 pounds or less. Okay. Then going onto the plane, you get a carry-on, and then you get a personal item. So that personal item can be a backpack. It can be your Snuggie or whatever. Whatever. You can take that, and then you also have your case that I would think you would pack whatever you need in there. So what we do is pack stuff that we're going to need that first day. That's what we carry on, and then probably important stuff that you don't want to get lost in case they lose your bag. So that's included. Don't have to worry about that. And then any additional fees that could be added by the airline after the date of registration. So what they say is if the dollar changes a certain percentage after you sign up for the fee, then sign up for the trip, then there could be a fee that is added. Now, it hasn't come close to, I think it was like 2.5% change. So we haven't come close to that at all. So I don't think that that'll be a problem. Also, if there's a surcharge added, like some of these airlines back during COVID, they were having problems, so they added surcharges of fuel costs and things like that. But I don't see anything like that happening, but you never know. Okay, and then additional short excursions to Mykonos and Santorini. So if you want to go to anything outside of just the community and just walk around, if you want to go and do special stuff, then that's not included either, and you'll have to pay for that also. Okay. Next one is passport. I told you that you got to have a valid passport, but the passport has to be valid for at least 6 months after you get back. And the reason that they do that, because I was like, this is kind of crazy. Why would that be the case? But when we went to Israel, it was just after COVID. And so we went to get on a plane and come back to America, and we had to take COVID test the night before. And so the COVID test came back that next morning, and my roommate had COVID. And so they would not let him leave, and they had to hold him in a room. He ended up being there for another 10 days, and they told him he couldn't leave his room. They were bringing him, he told me, he was like, they brought me like plates of cucumbers. So I don't know why they eat cucumbers like that, but that's what they do. And so he was really stressing it, but he had to stay for 10 days until he didn't have COVID anymore. So they say, if there's any chance of you being there, it should be less than 6 months. And so that's why they make you have 6 months out on your passport. So if you look at your passport, then, you might want to think about that if you got plenty of time to update it, renew it. But yeah, all right. Pricing. Here's the big one. I thought I might get George up here to do a drum roll, but the pricing. I know it is not a cheap trip. It is very. It's up there, but I will say you look at that number, and that is all inclusive. And so, all those things I mentioned, it's included in this. You're not having to pay, tip here, tip there. You're not having to pay for a bunch of food cost. And so you're really paying up front so that you don't have to pay later. So $5,992 from Charleston. So that's the price for the trip, $5,992. If you sign up today or any time before the 10th of August, then it's $75 off. I know that doesn't sound like a whole big deal, but if two of you are going, that's $150, and but that's the offer from the company. If you sign up before October 10th, then you get $50 off per person. So $75 or $50 off, depending on when you do it. But August 10th is almost here, and I really would say if you're really thinking about this, then go ahead and put a deposit down. You just go ahead and say, hey, I'm going to do this. You can hem and haw and think about it, but pray about it. And if you really feel like you want to go, you get a few bucks knocked off of the trip. So payments, $500 deposit is what is required for you to register. So you say, hey, I want to go. I'm willing to sign up, and you go online. You get all your stuff filled out. They're going to require for you to pay a $500 deposit right then. And you can use a credit card. So you can put it on a credit card, $500. If two of y'all are going, then it's going to be $1,000. You put it on your credit card. That's the only payment on this that can be made by credit card, though. Everything else has to be made through check. Your second deposit of $500 is going to be required within 14 days of that initial registration. All right, so $500, 14 days later. And then your final payment has to be made no later than 120 days before the departure. And so that's going to be in February of next year. You're going to have to make your last payment sometime in February of next year. So the initial payment, like I said, can be made by credit card. Everything else is going to be made by check, and you'll send it directly to them. What we would do is use our bank. So you can get the bank to actually send the check. You don't even have to write it, type it up, or anything. You just fill it out online, and they'll send the check for you. All right. So that's all the payments. That's all the information. This is just me personally, but I would make payments on this because you can divide it up however you want to. If you get paid every 2 weeks, you can pay every 2 weeks. If you get paid every week, you say, you know what, I want smaller payments. I want to go ahead and get it out. You can make them weekly. They don't care as long as they get their money, But this is my recommendation on a payment plan. So if you paid today, you can put on a card, your $500 initial payment. And then by August 18th, that would be the 14 days later, then you got to pay your second $500 deposit. And then the rest of the trip, I just divided up for that number of months. And so each month on the 1st or 15th or whatever you want to do, you could pay the $832 as long as by February 1st, or I think it was some February 9th, I guess, somewhere around there, you'd have to make that last payment to make it 120 days before. But if you did that, then I know, again, it's not a small cost, but at least that divides it up a little bit, and that's the way I'd do it. Okay. All right. So the last thing is Q&A. So I wanted to do questions and answers, and I know I got some people online, and so I told them if you're online, you have my number, then you can shoot me a text and I'll answer your question. But also we got people here, so I'm going to open the floor. Is there anything that I did not answer that you would like to know? So you have all the way through February 1st. So if you say on February 1st, you know what, I think I want to go, you could just pay all of it. But, so that's the only thing it changes is the amount of time that you have to pay it. So if you start today, then you'll have the full amount of time to go ahead and break up those payments however you want to. But if you come in later and say, hey, I want to do this and I'm going to sign up too, you can do that by all means. You'll just, you'll have to, if it's a month out, then, as long as 120 days before the trip. Now, also the way that they do it is that if you get down to 120 days and you say, hey, I don't know how I'm going to come up with the rest of the funds, they charge a surcharge. So if you get to 100 days, then you'll have to pay a little extra to pay it. And so that's why I said just make sure everything's paid 120 days out and everything will be fine. But yeah, so if you the question was if one person signs up for the trip and starts making payments, and another person in that family wants to go, can they sign up later? And the answer is yes, absolutely. And also, with 120 days out, they haven't even signed us up for rooms. So all rooms are double occupancy. So they could get a couple together, and it'd be fine. Yes, good question. If you do not want a person in your room, I'd have to look back, but I think it's $1,795. So you would pay a single room occupancy payment in addition to the price of the trip, and so that's yeah. What what we've done with the other trip to Israel is the same thing. You had to pay an extra fee, and I think we had one person that did that. I think one person that said I don't want to sleep with anybody else, and so he paid the extra fee. I believe maybe two, but other than that, we tried to room people together that knew each other or were comfortable together, and so that you're able to do that through me. I will do my best to make sure that you know you don't get with somebody. You love everybody. You don't despise anyone. So all right. Any other questions? Yeah. So, what are the essential things that a person going on a trip should take with them? So there's a lot of stuff. Traveling like we do, we try to go somewhere every year, and so we have excessive things that we take, and so there's a lot of stuff out there that makes traveling a whole lot easier. But really, if you've got a backpack, a water bottle of some sort, then maybe a hat, you're golden. So you might, what was that? Sunscreen, absolutely. Bring sunscreen, but yeah, so a hat, a backpack, a water bottle, some sunscreen. Anything else you want to carry, you can. Traveling light is the best way to go. So, but with that, you could. So this trip we just went on, what we did was, we packed everything in our big suitcase as soon as we got to the first place, because we were traveling around like this trip will be. You're going from one place to the next, and so we took everything out of our carry-on bag, which is smaller. And so then that next place we were going to go, we went ahead and packed for that place. So then you're not having to go back into your big bag every time. So you could do stuff like that. We carried umbrellas with us on this trip. We never used an umbrella once. We carried what else did we bring? Yeah, we took raincoats, and we didn't use those at all. But if you need them, you want them. So just thinking through things like that. So what I normally do is once we get everybody kind of signed up for the trip, I'll send a list out of things that I recommend fully to absolutely take, what not to take. You don't want to bring your handgun. That's probably not want it to be on there. No, yeah, no bullets either, because that's kind of big thing too. But yeah, so there are things you don't want to take, but I'll send a list out of do's and don'ts. Yes, ma'am. So the question was, are we going to have to exchange money, or will we be able to use dollars? So I would say that most of these places are going to be very touristy areas, and they'll probably take dollars. But also, I don't 100% know the answer to this, and so there is likely an exchange process. Um, I don't know the answer to that either. Let me look that up. Greece is part of the EU, so yes, they use euros there. So again, I'll know all the answers to that. So if you need to exchange money, they will send me, hey, we're going to have to exchange money. My recommendation, because I know, is to get money ahead of time. And so I do. I absolutely know that for sure. So the best way to do it is through your bank, your personal bank, and you can request a set amount, and they'll take it directly out of your account. They'll have the money sitting at whatever bank you ask for, or they'll send it to you in the mail, right? Okay, so you can pick it up. So with Bank of America, that's what we use, and we could just pick it up at the Bank of America right over here on St. James, and they send it to the local bank, and you just picked it up, walked up there, they hand it to you, and you walk out. Yeah, three days or so, but don't wait. Don't wait. Um, you can exchange money there. So if you say, hey, I don't want to exchange money, you can get there and exchange money. There are credit cards also that don't charge any fees. So that, I would say, is the best way to go. Is if you have a world credit card that doesn't charge any fees, you'll get the best exchange rate for that day. And that really worked out. So the kids, we have, what is it, Greenwise, I think. What? Green light that we use, and they don't have any foreign exchange fees, and so we use their cards the whole time, which was really awesome for them because they got to sign the credit card slip every time. And every time the guy was like, no, your parents are going to have to do that. And I'm like, nope, that's hers or that's his, you know. So, okay, those are good questions. Anything else? Yeah, so it'll be, so we'll be in Thessaloniki, we'll be in Athens, and we'll be on a cruise. So those are the three places that we'll stay. Three different places, and I can't remember if we were in Thessaloniki 2 nights or 3 nights. It might have been 3 nights, just two, and then 2 nights on the cruise, and then I think 3 days in, 4 days in Athens. I'd have to look back at that exactly, but yeah, so it's broken up like that. Um, Thessaloniki, we fly as soon as we fly in, we fly to Thessaloniki, and then we stay up there. Then we come to Athens. I think we stay one night in Athens, and then get on a cruise the next morning, and then we cruise for those 3 days, two nights, and then we come back to Athens and stay in Athens again through to the end. Yeah, downtime. It matters what you mean by downtime. So, is there going to be any downtime on the trip? That was a question. Um, it just depends. So, if you can be down on the bus, then yes, you're going to have downtime. If you can rest and relax on the bus, then absolutely yes. Outside of that, if you say, hey, I just can't go anymore, and you want to spend a day in the hotel, you can. And of course, you don't have to stay at the hotel. If you want to go, eat something or go out, you can do whatever. But it would probably be just you. You wouldn't be with the group. But once we go, I mean, it's full days. Ask George, right? It's full days that we're there. They want to get you through everything that you can possibly get through and be able to see everything you want to see. So again, back to those guys that went with us last time to Israel, there were numerous times where I mean, you got to a place and it was like, incline absolutely up to this town up on a hill. And so a couple of the people were just like, you know what, there's no way that I'm going to do that. And so you could either do one of two things. You could just sit back and enjoy it and relax. And a lot of times that's what they did. Or you can pay a guy to take you up there on a whatever, car, bus, whatever, and they'll get you up there. But there are lots of times that the bus drops us off at a place, and that's as far as they can go. And then you got to find your way up there, and most of us will walk. And, the tour guide in Israel, I assume, will be very much like the tour guide anywhere else. They want you to enjoy it, and so they're going to let you keep up with them, but they don't stop. But they'll keep looking back and make sure that we're kind of all cohesively together. If somebody's behind, then they'll wait on them to a certain degree. But yeah, we don't really just stop most of the time. Yeah. So Lawrence, I think, had a question. Let's see. So Lawrence, first of all, asked about making payments. So I hope I answered all that back there, Lawrence. I hope I gave you all the answer that you needed. But you can make payments and break them up as much as you want to. So anything you want to do, as long as it's paid for before February 9th, somewhere around in there, then it'll be fine. What? Oh boy. So the question is, what kind of drinks are included in the beverage package on the cruise? Asking for a friend, okay? Uh, Obviously, somebody is wanting to know this. But from what I understand, it's all drinks. That's what I gathered. Y'all know my stance and our church's stance on this. We are fine with drinking, but it needs to be according to Scripture, and it says that drunkenness is a sin. So there you go. Will we be reading Scripture? Yes, absolutely. My plan is kind of, if you went on an Israel trip with me, you already know, ahead of time, I tried to send out leading up to the trip, kind of information on each place that we go, where the biblical scripture was. And then once we get there, I want this to be a spiritual experience for you. And so we're not going to press it and push it and try to make it something that it's not. But being in a place where this actually happened, we'll typically read through the scripture that happened in that place. And so we'll be walking through a lot of the book of Acts while we're there. Yeah, good question. Thank you. Anyone else? George, there's no way to stop you. What about gospel presentations? Yes, please present the gospel. Thanks, Lawrence. Yeah, that's all I need is you to keep those numbers, George, and when you get back, tell me how many of them you did in Greek. Yeah, I think that was the hardest thing about presenting the gospel in a place like that is walking up to somebody and they might not speak your language. You know. They they might. Yeah. Yeah. They're like parlez-vous crochet, and I was like, no, that's wrong. That's wrong. Absolutely. Okay. Any other questions? Guys in the back, any questions? Yes. Got two. Oh, thumbs up. Thumbs up. All right, guys. Well, so like I mentioned, if you sign up by the 10th, then you get that $75 off per person. Not that huge of a deal, but the travel company is looking. So we have to have 20 people to go on a trip. It's just like the last one. Got to have 20 to go on a trip. So that's kind of where we are, and we are really needing somewhere around 10 as soon as possible. So they've been kind of hounding me on, hey, are we going to get these numbers because we want you to go on this trip? And kind of what they've said is once you get a core group, it's easier to get the rest of those people because, people want to travel with you. So, just trying to encourage you to go ahead and sign up for the trip as soon as possible. It'll benefit the trip and it'll benefit you to be able to pay smaller payments over time instead of having to come up with something altogether. All right? Yes. For me, about 5'8", probably. Um, Average highs in Greece. I bet, Angela, do you have just a second to look that up, what the temperature is? So asking about the temperature in Greece in June. We'll have that answer in just a second. Anyone else? Okay. Well, I hope I've answered all these questions. As soon as she gets that, we'll close out and then okay. Well, I'm sure other people are wanting to know is why I wanted to get it on there. What's that? Warm. That's what. Warm to very warm is the temperature. That's real good. Is that in Celsius? Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that, Siri. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Well, so in the 90s, Fahrenheit. Yeah. Woo. Okay. Oh, not Celsius. All right. So 72 degrees to 82 degrees in June. Okay. That sounds beautiful. 72 degrees to 82 degrees. Oh, okay. If you have any other questions, concerns, thoughts, stuff that I didn't answer tonight, things that you think people should know or you want to know, by all means, text me, send me a message. You can send smoke signals, whatever. But that's the best way is just to shoot me a text. If you're in one of the groups that we've got together, you could ask it in there because most of the time, if you have a question, everybody else has a question also and would like answers to it. And there's no stupid questions, so please ask it. All right. So thank you for being here tonight. Thank you guys for those of you that are online. If you need help, we can get you help to get signed up. But it's really easy. But really, if you want to shoot me a text and say, hey, I just need some help getting signed up, we will make that happen. We can make it happen tonight if you want to do it. Otherwise, you can give me a call sometime this week and we'll make that happen too. Okay? All right? Thank you for joining us.